I'd like to say that the art in my home is an extension of who I am and reflects my deep connection with the Australian landscape and the bold colours. But if I was going to say that, I would actually be lying because it's not true.
Hi, I'm George, the co-founder of Bluethumb, and I'm joined by my colleague Amy. Welcome to the Art in My Home podcast.
We uncover the surprising stories from the art collections of unexpected guests.
Today's guest is Tania Chanter and joined by her partner here, Michael. Tania is one of Bluethumb's top-selling artists. Her impressionist landscapes capture the beauty of Australian nature, and she's sold over 800 works on us. She's a published author and continues to inspire countless collectors. Welcome to the podcast, Tania and Michael.
Thank you very much, George and Amy, for having us.
You're so welcome. You might have heard before. We like to start with the art questions. So what are some of the artworks you have in your house, and how does the art that you have around you at home reflect your personal taste and your experiences?
Well, I'd like to say that the art in my home is an extension of who I am and reflects my deep connection with the Australian landscape and the bold colours. But if I was going to say that, I would actually be lying because it's not true. We only actually just have a very small collection of paintings, and they're generally artists that we know and love. So the first piece that we acquired was with Belinda Nadwi, and that came about because she contacted me. I think she phoned me and had a conversation and said that she's starting up her art collection and she'd like to commission me to do a large piece. So we agreed that I'd do a 140 by 140, and she wanted one of my seascape paintings. And I chose one of hers, which was a very warm, earthy, autumnal painting, which I really love and suits the decor in our house. So that was our very first original art, which we were very excited to get. And it was huge. Our house is quite small. It's an older style Australian country house with small walls. So getting this really large 140 by 140 piece is quite a statement piece. And we only had one wall that would fit it. So we were very excited about that. And then after that, our second piece came about when I saw Alicia Cornwell. She's actually a local artist in the Dandenong Ranges as well. I love her work. And she was clearing out her art studio and advertised this piece on Instagram. It was a bright, bold floral piece, which I fell in love with, and it's bigger than her usual pieces. Often she does small pieces, and I love the way Alicia paints. She sets a scene, as far as I know, generally. She does like an old piece of fabric, beautiful old antique fabric, and a vase of flowers, traditional still life paintings, which I love. And I think it's because it's the opposite of how I paint. I paint very loose and abstract, whereas Alicia is much more precise. So it really appealed to me. So we purchased that and absolutely love it. And she even got it framed for us.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's nice. Both the pieces you're talking about are kind of flowers, I guess. Like I've got a small Belinda Nadwi at my house, but it's more abstract and I'd say more colourful. This is kind of those muted tones.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one on her palette before, actually.
I think it's
the black
a kind of an oldish piece, and she's sort of moved away from those darker tones.
Yeah, but it's lovely though.
It's very warm.
Well, you actually requested that though, didn't you?
Yeah,
you said you
I
wanted
did.
something.
She painted it for me.
Yeah.
No, so you sort of said, I want something with these types of colours? Or
Yeah, just very earthy and warm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that suited the room we had in mind for it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so we love it. And then another piece, we've got my sister-in-law, Sayan Winfield.
Oh, she's your sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so we love Sayan's work as well. We commissioned her to paint another floral piece because, again, that's something that I don't do. I love flowers and yet I don't feel confident painting them. So Sayan is amazing. We love her artwork. So that's a very deep botanical, rich green background and magnolias. She's got this gorgeous magnolia tree outside their house. And so she painted a piece for us which we have above our bed. It's lovely.
Yeah, I love that.
So 3 florals for 3.
We see a trend. I love Alicia's, as you said. I love a lot of her works with the fabric in the background, how she paints the folds. And we had some glorious, large blue ones of hers in the gallery, and they were just incredible. I think she's fantastic.
We had in an exhibition at Up Gallery in Sassafras, and Alicia has a big piece in there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Really. really nice.
She was doing some smaller scale, like really little ones, maybe a couple of months ago, and I kicked myself that I didn't get one because she's like, I think we saw her at an opening and I was like, oh, I'm so annoyed I didn't get one. She's like, it's not really worth my time to do them, but and I was like, yeah, but they're so nice.
Yeah, there'd be so much work in
so
the little ones.
That's it. That's exactly it. She's like, the time that it takes to do this little one, it doesn't really translate when she does when she goes to do a bigger one. But yeah, gosh, they're beautiful and love her palette, the colours on it.
Yes.
Just so nice. Do you have any artworks of your own hanging, Tania, or...?
Actually, I have.
Yes.
And this is quite a sentimental piece to me because this was actually my very first painting that I ever did since primary school.
Really?
So there was a huge gap between my primary school and a few years ago when I did this painting. It's a Bob Ross painting from the 70s.
Yes.
So it's very kitsch. Yeah. But I really like his process. When I first started painting, I realised that I like the wet on wet process. So I hadn't painted since primary school, and my son just decided to get a canvas. So we went out under the oak tree and we followed a tutorial by Bob Ross on YouTube. So that was my very first piece. So my son stopped at one, but I discovered that I actually loved painting and eventually could make a living out of it.
Gosh.
Yeah, so and Bob Ross paints in oils, which I found too messy, also take too long to dry because I'm a very impatient person. So I eventually realised that acrylics suited my personality better. And then I moved on from Bob Ross to Bob Burridge. He was another inspiring artist, but he painted more quickly and intuitively, which suits my personality. So I think that's an important thing as an artist, to find what suits you, who you are.
Absolutely.
And not try and sort of mould yourself into something you're not.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I like that. Yeah, I've been accused of having ADHD, so I think I'd have to find a turbo if I was ever going to do it. So when was that? Your first painting after school? When did you do that?
That was 2018, January 2018.
God,
so 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Yep. And look where you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a surprise. I would never have imagined myself having a creative bone in my body. Michael was always the creative one. He's got an arts degree, and right from when we were married, he's done some sort of arty thing. He was a potter.
The funny thing about that is when you go to exhibitions, like we'd go to ceramic exhibitions, and Tania would be the wife of the potter that no one really wanted to talk to. They wanted to talk to. Now, when we go to art exhibitions, everyone talks to Tania.
You have to start doing
the
it
husband
again.
of the artist. It's just funny. Role reversal.
You might have to start doing it again, Michael. That's crazy because you have such a following now, Tania, and all from 6 years ago when you started with Bob Ross works.
Yes. Who would ever have thought?
Is your painting process, is there anything similar in Bob Ross style to how you paint now? Or are you, is it kind of methodical like that? Or
No, that's the opposite of my personality. I'm not methodical at all. I'm quite impetuous.
Yes.
Well,
and so it comes through.
You are methodical. I mean, you approach each canvas in exactly the same way.
Oh, that's true.
But it's not, it's nothing like the way Bob Ross paints.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So describe the process.
Yeah, first of all, when I'm going to start a painting, I decide what I'm going to paint. Am I going to do a beachscape, a seascape, cloudscape, or something more abstract or unique? And then I'll mark the horizon on it. I'll cover the whole thing pretty much all in impasto. Yeah, just to add texture. And because I'm impatient, I'll get my hairdryer out and try and I'll add layers of paint and I'll paint and dry at the same time and move the texture around to get it into whatever shape I want. And that actually is very important to me, the texture. Because and especially when you use the hairdryer, it changes it a lot from if you just dry it naturally, air dry it. And then I add layer upon layer. And then finally, when I'm happy with the piece, Michael comes along and he adds some of the detail or some things that I feel that it needs that I haven't added. And we both kind of collaborate together on the one piece.
Wow.
Sometimes, not all the time.
No, not all the time.
A lot of the time.
But you don't get to sign it?
No. No. Doesn't worry me.
Do you work across multiple artworks at the same time, or is it normally just one at a time?
Yeah, generally I like having a couple of pieces at least that I'm working on, and especially if you get a bit stuck.
Sure.
It's always good to leave the piece and come back like tomorrow and with fresh eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And plus when you're letting layers dry, because often I'll have to put a piece out in the sun to dry, because the sun's still always the best way, I think, of drying something solidly. Yeah, so having a few pieces on the go is much more practical.
How long would it take for one of your works to dry, like fully? Oh, because it's acrylic, it wouldn't take.
It's
a
acrylic,
couple
it
of
doesn't
days
take that
still?
long.
Yeah.
Well, if I speed dry it,
Yeah, with the hairdryer.
with the hairdryer, I can get it all done in a day.
Sure.
But if it doesn't come together as easily as I'd like, then that can take quite a few days.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends what I'm doing. Yeah, and as I said, if some pieces just come together really easily and others struggle with, and that can especially depend on the colour combination, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of your big landscapes that look a bit abstract with the flowing lines, you know, those I've seen a lot of the big scale ones.
Yep.
They remind me of Brett Whiteley and the sort of the Olga's ones he did.
Yes.
I assume he's an influence on your work.
Yeah,
Is
he's a massive influence.
Yeah.
I think we've been influenced a lot by Brett Whiteley, Fred Williams.
Turner?
Oh, your Turner?
Oh, yeah.
So the moodiness and lighting of Turner, but the unusual shapes of Brett Whiteley.
Yeah.
And the palette of Fred Williams is very yours as well.
I love Fred Williams.
Beautiful.
The colours.
Yeah.
They're
Very
just
you. Very you.
gorgeous.
Absolutely.
I think, did we send through that one of Turner, the Falls at Schaffhausen?
Oh, I don't think I have the Turner one, but...
It's in the NGV, that painting.
Oh, is it?
And it's just to see that up close and just to look at the texture and think that was done such a long time ago. I just find that fascinating. In looking at any of those old masters and seeing them in the flesh is I just find that awe-inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was in Sydney in March and at a convention centre and sort of walked into this big auditorium and there was a Brett Whiteley, I guess one of his most famous collectible ones, and it was sort of probably like 3 or 4 metres high and across this whole wall, and I had no idea of the scale of this piece. Like I'd seen it in books and studied it at school, and I'm like, holy shit, this is actually the size of a wall. And looking at it like that, you understand the impact of it in person versus just seeing it in a book.
Yeah, that's
So
so
true.
true. And so true with a lot of abstract paintings too. Just if you just see them small, you think, oh, that's not very much. But then when they're massive, they're so impactful.
Yeah. With the Rothko, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a Whiteley down at Mona I don't know if you've been down and seen the one in Mona.
Yeah, we saw it last year, I think.
Yeah, that's massive as well.
Yeah. And
Same thing.
The scale that though, and even John Olsen, I've seen a huge, large scale. The scale that those guys were painting at was insane.
Yes.
What size do you cap out at, Tania? You're like a 2 metre, are you? Or?
No, I'll do anything.
You'll do anything.
Yeah, I'm open to anything. Yeah, so one that is coming up is about 2.5 metres.
Wow, that's
wide.
massive.
Yeah, so we always need to get a courier, an art courier to deliver that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't really faze me.
Yeah.
Like some people find it really daunting, but I sort of love the freedom that a large canvas brings. Whereas with a small canvas, I think I find that more restraining.
Sure.
Whereas I feel more free and I can just slap paint on, slap impasto on, and it gives me such a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I'd say the same when we did the 40 by 40 exhibition. We spoke to Cheryl Harrison and she did not want to do it. She was like, no.
No, I can
But she was like,
understand.
I don't like small abstract. I like big. And she does big.
Yes.
But she's like, she's like, I'm not happy with it. I don't like them. And I thought they were fantastic. Like it was different, a bit stylistic to her normal large scale works.
Yes.
But I thought they looked beautiful. But she's like, no, don't like small ones. I only want to do big ones.
No,
so.
I can understand that. Yeah, she said that to me too.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting to see, like, how size impacts on
Yes.
style, I guess, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a mental
thing. Absolutely. How long you have to sit at it, you'll be like, what am I actually painting because I'm so restricted?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, gosh. Michael, we should probably talk about some of your ceramics that we've got photos of this. How do we say it again?
Raku.
Raku ware. Japanese traditional pottery. How did you get into that?
I did a 4-year course at Chisholm Institute.
Yep.
So it was a 4-year degree in ceramics. And I just ended up doing it.
They've got some like really fascinating like.
So the colours in Raku are generated in the firing process.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, so the process of Raku, if you're not aware, is to take a piece out of the kiln while it's red hot. So you use metal tongs. And I used to put it in a metal rubbish bin that was filled with chicken wire and newspaper. You put it in there, put the lid on, and that creates a reduction atmosphere in there, which gives you the colours that are almost, well, on a shiny glaze, it'll end up looking like metal. On those matte glazes, you get all these different licks of colour that you can't predict. And it's quite an exciting process. But it's a very dangerous process as well because you break a lot. Because it's, the thermal shock that the pot has to endure, and then just picking lots of those ones had very ornate kind of handles and bits sticking off them, so they would often break off. So it's a good process, but it can be frustrating as well.
Were you ever tempted to sort of go to Japan and study under a master, Raku?
I was, but when I did the course, which was a long time ago now, I just never thought I could do it. But since then, we've been to Japan. We go to Japan every year.
Oh, cool.
And it's weird because I love ceramics and that's the place to do it if you're going to do it. But I've just never got back to it, which is kind of sad, really. But anyway.
Yeah, they're really fascinating.
Change.
That's
easy. Do you use any of these as a teapot?
We actually haven't got any. We've got some teapots that aren't Raku. They were porcelain with big gold handles. But all of those ones... We don't have them anymore, which I'm a little bit sad about.
Raku is porous, isn't it?
It's porous, but they do use Raku teapots in Japan and Korea.
Oh, right.
So if they're glazed on the inside, even though they're still porous, they use them. And, they leach a bit of the tea into the teapot and then it leaches back into the tea and they say that adds to the flavour. So they're, But they were purely decorative. They weren't really designed to actually be used. They were just sculptural pieces.
Yeah, cool.
they're fascinating.
You don't have them anymore though, that's a shame.
No, I don't.
We've got one.
I've got some Raku, but not those.
But not those ones.
Not the really nice ones. You got the duds.
That's the same with painting. I was thinking, I should keep this one. I really love this one.
Yeah.
But I just
So
end up
how many of
selling
your pieces are in your home?
One. Yeah,
Just
we've
one?
got one large.
Okay.
Yeah, and that changes because I actually get sick of it. I did have a moody cloudscape, which was in fairly neutral tones, which I liked, for about a year. But then it sold because I had it. I thought, I'm a bit sick of this now. So we've got another cloudscape up there now.
Yeah.
So it changed. Well, that's the beauty of being an artist.
Absolutely.
You can just change them.
Yeah.
And with no trouble.
Absolutely. Rotating gallery of you. I love it.
And you guys are in the Yarra Valley, so I assume it's sort of fairly natural environment where you live.
It's a lovely area. It's beautiful and relaxing.
Does that influence how you've decorated your house and the art you've put in it as well, the surrounds of Yarra Valley?
We were thinking about this and we didn't really think it influences.
I mean, it's not that we don't appreciate where we live. We love it. And just looking out of the window is just fantastic. But whether that influences the art, maybe not. Maybe not so much because a lot of the art we do, some of it is a bit green, but mostly, Amy, you mentioned the Fred Williams palette. And a lot of the art we do is kind of reds and oranges and more Central Australia, Pilbara type area than where we actually live. So does that influence? I don't know. Okay.
It doesn't really, actually. It's the opposite. We paint the opposite of where we live, which is
You
really
literally
weird.
do, though. You literally
Maybe we should be
do.
living in a different area.
We should.
I don't know. Then if you live there, what would you be turning
probably be
out?
painting
It would be
green.
green.
Lush green kind of landscape.
Just missing it. You're like, I miss it. Let's put green. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, because you sent through the Fred Williams landscape that you're sort of inspired by, which, he did the whole Pilbara series. It's all the dusty, red, kind of arid deserts. It's funny living in the lush Yarra Valley. Do you go to those places to paint or you just...
No, I've tried painting outdoors, but it just doesn't work for me. I think we're inspired by places we've visited and Michael often takes photos and will base a painting on that. But with me, I think I'm inspired by the mood, colours, feelings, season. I don't really need to be somewhere to do that. It kind of comes from within me.
Yep.
But Michael probably is inspired more by a place, aren't you? Like a rock formation.
Yeah, I would say that's
so
true.
it's different.
And if you're looking for, if you're really stuck, you're in a pigeonhole and you're like, I can't figure out what to paint, what do you go look for, or where do you go look for inspiration? Are you online looking at other Fred Williams artworks or art books or things like that.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll go to the NGV.
Yeah, beautiful.
Or even just going outside, like going for a walk clears your head. I think that's very good, doing some sort of exercise.
Sure.
Just a change of scenery, because that allows your mind to relax.
Totally.
And then ideas just
refresh
flow.
yourself.
Yeah, refresh. Yep.
Yeah.
I guess we did do a lot of that initially, but we don't tend to do that as much now. And I think we don't want to do that so much. Like, look at other artists. I like to look at techniques, not so much what they paint. Unless you're deliberately doing like pop arty type reproductions of other people's art, we don't really want to do that.
Art transforms spaces and tells stories, just like those shared here. Ready to find your own? Bluethumb Art has thousands of pieces from local artists, making it easy to find the perfect fit. Visit bluethumb.com.au to start discovering.
Tania, you're painting from a studio in the Yarra?
Yes.
Is it at your house as well?
So I've got our house, and then Michael built our art studio just a few metres away.
Oh, perfect.
So we started in a tiny little one, and then canvas sizes were getting very large, so they didn't fit. So we've got to work together at the same time in our art studio.
And Tania, you wrote a book called Who Would Have Thought? The Story of an Accidental Artist. How was the process writing it? And I guess, what do you want people to take away from
That's a
the
very
book?
good question. And I didn't actually write it. Michael wrote it.
Okay.
But I have read have read some of it.
Actually read it. Tell the truth, you've never read it.
It all comes out.
Some of it. So
Well, I
good.
don't
She's read the part at the end that says what she got out of the book. That's the bit she's read.
I've read
Yes.
some of it.
Well-
so good.
I do like it.
Michael, how was the process writing the book?
On Tania.
The whole thing was really just to document, well, from 2018 when Tania started, how it all started and how she got to where she is, which was pretty amazing, really, for someone who'd never really painted or even
Absolutely.
believed they could paint to do so well. So I thought, well, look, let's just document it, and even just for ourselves, we'll put in a progression of works so we can have a record of it, and people have been interested in it. And Tania would never have done it because she doesn't like talking about herself, which we understand, but I thought it's worth doing, so yeah, we did it.
Do you sort of hope it'll inspire other artists to get going with their craft and just...
I guess. I mean, that would be nice. We didn't really have any grand aspirations to we don't feel like we're anything special that people can learn anything from us, but...
Well, you sold it 800 plus artworks.
In 6 years.
I constantly
So
remind Tania of that every time.
there aren't many artists, who've sold that many artworks in their lifetime.
The growth
right?
is astronomical.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, we were just reading yesterday, Van Gogh only sold one in his whole lifetime. So I constantly remind Tania of that every time she's saying, I can't paint, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So you've sold.
absolutely.
Can't say that.
You've got a loyal following.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's insane. But yeah, I can't believe you only started in 2018. I'm shocked by it. It's, Okay.
Oh, you mentioned, George, that you said, what do you hope people will gain from the book?
Yeah.
And I thought this is a really good point. The opportunities came quickly, and if at any point I'd hesitated, my progress would have undoubtedly been hampered. So from the very beginning, my attitude was, what have I got to lose? So in a way, I think that's very true. You need to kind of be a bit cheeky, and I'm just reading from the book there. It says, opportunities sometimes came through her own initiative, like the time she was passing the local radio station and decided to pop in unannounced and let them know about her solo exhibition, only to spend 40 minutes on air talking about her art. So you kind of, I think that's a really important thing, being an artist. You need to be resilient and be a little bit cheeky and sort of just give it a go. Don't be afraid to push yourself forward, because what have you got to lose? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, being on a podcast like this, can be a bit intimidating. But then you think, well, if I make a complete mess of it, and like, really, what have I got to lose? I'm doing my best, and people just can take me as I am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if,
Bit of hustle.
A bit of hustle.
It's literally the common theme on every single guest we've had on.
Yeah, just hustle.
A little bit of like, what's the worst that can happen? May as well try it.
Yes, exactly.
I've got a question from that though, Tania. So from your first Bob Ross painting, you just started painting like casually to start with, or did you decide you'd painted a few things, you're like, I want to do a solo exhibition? Like, how did your initial kind of launch start?
I'm the type of person that once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm just on a mission. So I painted every day, and someone told me I should advertise on Bluethumb. And during COVID, I was selling like almost a painting a day on Bluethumb. But I've just found Bluethumb's support so incredible. And that's what really motivated me, I think. The support from Bluethumb, and sales came in. So then I just kept going, and I thought, we can do this as a job. And then the more I did it, the more involved Michael became, and Michael helped with marketing.
So at the time, Tony was painting frantically. We had another office I was running a graphic design business, so I was inside doing websites. Tony would come and say, I sold another one. I said, really? I sold another one. I said, really? This is unbelievable. And I'm sitting there getting frustrated doing websites, and Tony's out there painting. I thought, this is nuts. Surely we should swap over to that. And then I said, why don't you should get some out there and let people see them and have a bit of an exhibition. So then you had one at a little local. You went down to the
Callista Tea Rooms. That was my first one.
Had a little show there, and that got a little bit of publicity. And I said, well, why don't you go for a regional gallery? And they had in the Yarra Valley, they had a regional gallery program, and they'd put ads out, if anyone was interested.
Oh, fantastic!
So I said, apply for it. So Tania applied for it and got it. So she's gone from not painting to now having an exhibition at a respected regional gallery within the space of maybe a year or something. So then she thought, wow, this is pretty daunting now. But as Tania said, once she sets her mind to it, she just do it. And what did she have to lose? I mean, okay, the exhibition, so no one bought anything. Maybe people didn't like it. Big deal. No one knew who you were before it. So do it. I guess it was one of the other podcasts, I forget who it was, we were listening to it, and they were saying that because they didn't know that industry, it might have been the flower one person. I've forgotten her name.
Hannah Spleever?
Yes,
from Lovely? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, she said she was naive about the whole business, and that helped her push in, and the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, being a kind of outsider beginner can sometimes help you blaze away, I think.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Well, you're sort of, one of the top selling artists on us, and probably within Australia as well. It's like I said, 800 works is a huge achievement. Closing in on 1,000, which is great.
Yeah, true.
And I guess, in the future, I would say from what I know of your art, you've got a recognisable style, technique, though it does change. Are there other techniques that you are thinking of sort of trying out, or do you constantly try out, experiment with different techniques? How does that work?
Well, we actually had the opportunity to do a range of abstract paintings. Berkowitz Furniture collaborated with us to open their new store in Richmond, Sofa Craft. And we were asked to paint 30 paintings, and they were completely different from anything I normally do now. So we just did some research and we got them all together. So there were a range of abstract paintings, completely different to anything I've done now. So if I have to do it, I'll do something like that. But generally, my focus is on improving my technique and improving my skills with what I'm doing now. So I think that's important to me, to get better at what I'm doing.
And I think not even better, just developing it further, seeing how it goes.
Yes.
Because it's already very good, but it's nice to see, I think, even if you look back at your portfolio, for example, you see the growth in the style and the adaptations in your technique over the years. So it's always nice to just see, I guess, the evolution of your artworks, really.
Yeah, that's right. And it's important, I think, for an artist to do that, because often you can be afraid of failure and think, oh, this is no good. But you really need to view failure not as failure, but as a learning experience. And as you said, look back on your other work and see how you've grown and improved, which is encouraging. And also you can get support and feedback from other artists.
Yeah.
Which is really important, because we've had so much support from Franco. He constantly is helpful with any questions.
Oh, fantastic.
And also Sophie Lawrence and Jen Turing. They've all been amazing with supporting us and helping us.
That's great.
Yeah.
The big five.
The top five. Now we know how.
We had Ken Doan in the gallery. We did an exhibition of his, I think it was last year.
No, it was a couple of years ago.
Was it a couple of years ago? Jesus, okay.
Did you guys come to that?
Yeah.
Yes, they would have been there.
Yeah, so
with the speech.
Yeah, you would have heard. He said something like, he's in his 80s, I think, and he's like, he's still trying. He thinks he's still improving. He's still trying to improve at how he paints and his technique. And his ultimate goal is to paint as well as a 5-year-old.
Yes,
Which I thought was amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
he's trying to keep pushing to, I guess, the unfettered kind of freedom of how a 5-year-old
Exactly.
creates.
That's so interesting.
I had a great little story about that the other day. Someone said, there's a little girl drawing a picture in class, and the teacher said, what are you drawing? And the girl said, God. And she said, but no one knows what God looks like. And the girl said, well, they will now. And that sort of uninhibited approach to things is what children, are so good at.
So good. I love that.
I like that.
Have you seen the post that Ken Dunn puts up where he's talking about his pieces?
Yeah, I've seen it on
love
Instagram.
those.
Yeah,
I love those. He says, and I put this little fish here because, well, I don't know why I did it really, but I just love the way he talks about
It
it.
needed it.
As a matter of fact, yeah.
Awesome. And sort of to circle back to the art you have in your house, would there be an artist that you don't have yet that you would want in your house? Like if you could, whether they're kind of someone you know here or anyone else?
Well, I love Franco's work. And also we have a friend who's an Indigenous artist, Warren. So I can never say his name.
Corin Warren.
Corin Warren.
We know him as Tio, but...
Yes, we know him as Tio. That's why I don't know his...
Yeah, his official name is Corin Warren.
His art's very elegant.
Have you seen his work? He's
No.
an Indigenous
it's
artist. He's up
beautiful.
in Queensland.
Oh.
He's sold some... Pierce Brosnan has a piece of his art
Wow.
that he had in the background of a podcast recently I saw.
Wow.
So it's outstanding work. It's unique, isn't it? in
Well,
terms
it's
of
very
the-
elegant. It's not
Yeah.
clunky. It's sophisticated Indigenous work.
What sort of, I guess, what style of painting is it?
It's Indigenous, but how would you describe it? It's
Well, there's lots of little dots and lines, repetitive. But I think it's the colours that are very elegant. Do you think that's what it is?
yeah, you'd have to see it. I think. Maybe.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll look it up
Yeah.
in the
We-
show notes. Yeah.
We're talking about doing a collaboration with him.
Gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah, we talked about it for a while, but just never happened yet. We should make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Collaborate on a piece or a series?
On a series would be good, but a piece would be a good place to start. You don't want to push it.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, apart from potentially that, what's coming up for next year for you?
Probably, as I said before, to get better and more skillful at what we do. Developing skill and refining technique are essential goals to really master what we're doing, to feel happy. And the colours, probably, developing my colour scheme. They're probably the main thing. So we don't have big goals. Like, we're pretty happy with how we're going. Like, we love being in the art fairs. Avi from Fantastic Framing and Eddie have been so supportive. So we love being in the art fairs with them. That's fantastic.
Do you have any exhibitions coming up? Or
We've got one. Yeah, we've got one at Up Gallery at the moment.
Yes.
And another one at Up Gallery.
I'm dying to
in
go to Up
Sassafras.
Gallery.
It's a lovely
I am,
gallery.
yeah, and so I love Sassafras.
Yeah, it's such
So
a cute
there's so many artists around the Dandenongs. Like,
Yeah.
Yes, well, Kelly Condis,
Yes, Kelly Condis, Alicia and-
Kirsty McIntyre.
Yes.
I love her work
yes,
too.
yeah, I'm dying to go to this. They're all in there.
Sounds like we need
Road
a
trip.
team trip.
Team trip. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys, for
Thanks
coming
for
on.
coming.
It's been super interesting to kind of hear about the process. And yeah, I didn't realise your art journey had only started in 2018 to becoming one of the best-selling artists ever on our platform, and obviously one of the most popular, which is great. So yeah, really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story.
And we can't thank you both enough and Bluethumb for having us and supporting us and
course.
even giving this opportunity of a podcast. That's so exciting. Yeah, thank you.
We love a chat. So I'm glad you're here.
If you love art and hearing collectors' stories, please share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to follow the show, rate and review to help make the pod more visible. We acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional owners of the land we're recording on, and we pay respects to elders past, present and emerging.